Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of RE/MAX Associated Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com.
It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Mental health does matter, and we're here in the studio today. Joining us remotely is Jade Mazarin, a Christian therapist who has a master's in family and marriage counseling. My co-host is here, Katie Love, and she'll be joining us later with her Teenage Confidential segment. This is the second part of a two-part interview. New Horizons is, as many of you know, the largest mental health and addiction recovery provider on the Treasure Coast, but we cannot handle all of the demand for help. So we interview different people who are offering all kinds of approaches to mental health. And today's segment, we've been talking about relationships, when you know you're in a good relationship or in a not so good relationship, and the anxiety that can be generated. If you missed the first part, you can go onto our Facebook page at New Horizons of the Treasure Coast, or you can go to the livestream.com/Planet Vero and find all of our segments archived there. So Jade, just real quick, tell people in case they missed the first part what a Christian therapist is.
Sure. So a Christian therapist is someone who really incorporates both psychological tools and also spiritual tools to help somebody get better, to help somebody heal and achieve greater wellness.
So, I love the way that we ended our last segment in that you talked about, when we were talking about the most important relationship was with your own self, before teenagers go out and, get involved in, in intimate relationships. And then that could go into just really negative relationships, in marriage as adults. And so how do you then establish a positive relationship with yourself? And you talked about, tell us again about the parenting and about your spirituality.
About the parenting as far as what parents should do, or?
Yeah, you said about apologizing if they weren't available, recognizing where they may have fallen short, and affirming their love and the value of each of their children.
You said that very well, Lisa.
Oh, okay. I just paraphrased what you said. So, it's never easy, I think, for us as human beings to look at ourselves and say, okay, where could I have done better, or where may I have fallen short? But especially when we have children, it's really important that we're willing to do that. So if parents can kind of look back on the years and see if there was a time, or maybe even a long time, where they weren't around, where they were not treating their child with the love that they feel maybe they should have, for them to be willing to talk to their child about that, and to really accept responsibility, to admit responsibility, to apologize, and then to start telling the child, how much they do really love them, how much that child does mean to them. Because whether we like it or not, we gain some idea of ourselves from our parents and how they treated us. Now, those of us who were treated by family or had situations that made us feel that we weren't worthy, then we have to sometimes do the work on our own when, parents may not give us what we're looking for. And that's where being willing to realize that the way that we were treated, I would say almost 10 times out of 10, the way we're treated doesn't have to do with us. It has to do with maybe even the baggage, usually the baggage that parents kind of bring along with them that they don't even know they carry. And maybe they never learned how to show love, especially in the way we need it. So we have to be willing to then kind of look at ourselves, then kind of show love to ourselves, which we actually can do and is actually the most important thing for us. And to go to God and really recognize that God knows us perfectly and he loves us fully and completely and unconditionally. And if we can receive that love, we can then treat ourselves with that same kind of love.
Very interesting. Yeah, I was going to say, because even though, a parent may say, acknowledge, of their shortcomings or apologize, that doesn't undo the damage that's already been done. And so then, it's each of our responsibility, not as a child, but as an adult, to heal ourselves. And how do we do that? And one way is to acknowledge that there are issues, rather than just be in denial or to drown our sorrows or, act out on all of the stuff that has been done wrong to us, because there has been a lot of wrongdoing in this world. But how do you do that? How do you actually come to terms and say, okay, I want to heal? And that's one reason why people come to a therapist. How do you start to heal?
Yeah. So it is true that we first have to start with that recognition that we do need healing. Because there are people that have a tough time even admitting that. And those are the people that I actually have a tough time helping, because they really won't kind of go to that place. But then once you're willing to go to that place and you recognize that that pain is there, then you want to show understanding and compassion to yourself, because you have to think of it as almost like you have that little child still in you, because we all do. So now you get to show that little child whatever compassion, whatever kindness that little child should have received. And so part of that is you first of all, not being mad at yourself if you still have wounds from the past, even if you've tried to work on them and they're still there, to be understanding, to be kind, to say, okay, what can I do for you now? Talking to that little child in you, how can I show you love and support now? And then, like I said, receiving that love from God, even putting in your mind the recognition of how unconditionally he loves you, that he loves you with perfection, whereas we may not have known that perfect love from other people. We do have that from God. And filling our mind with the truth. The more that we focus on the truth, the more we'll be able to absorb it over time. And one of those truths that's so important is knowing that how we were treated was not our fault at all. And when we are raised by people who are broken, who don't know how to sometimes be parents, it's it's what they carry. It's not about who we were. And, there's even exercises of being able to picture yourself as you are today as an adult, going to that little child. If you have a particular memory where you were being treated badly as a child, and you can picture yourself today going to that little child, putting your arms around her and telling her the comforting things that she needed to hear in that moment, because whatever she heard may have been lies that were just tearing her down, that really didn't even mean anything. Lies are insubstantial, and yet our brain makes them feel like they're concrete. But we need to kind of take multiple deep breaths as we're doing this and ask for God to come in to these feelings. His spirit can come in with his peace. And then you can picture kind of what you wanted for that child. And I also like to picture Jesus being there and being able to show that love, that support, watching your younger self go to him and hug him and having that love be shown to you when you needed it the most.
So, what you're essentially saying is to take care of yourself. So, and self-care, right? Isn't that so you be not just the little voice that, so these aren't, some of the stuff starts to sound cliche because now we've, been hearing it for a decade or so, right? But the real message is to take care of yourself. And it's not just self-affirmations and putting little post-its on or to even recognize, God's love, but to take care of yourself in a myriad of ways. And that's one of the reasons why you do the health counseling as well, correct?
Yes, it is. I mean, it is all about self-care, and there are so many different ways that you can take care of yourself. And something that I always want clients to kind of pause and ask themselves in any given situation is, what do I need right now? Am I feeling cared for? Am I in a situation where I feel like it's tearing me down? Have I been so focused on other people that I've forgotten to take care of myself? Which really puts you in a vicious cycle too, because the less that you take care of yourself, the more accustomed to it you become. And then you kind of don't even know sometimes how to start taking care of yourself, or you start to feel less worthy because you haven't treated yourself in a way that you are worthy. So we got to start with even small things of asking, how can we take care of ourselves, which includes, like you said, our physical health. It includes our mental health, our spiritual health, our physical health, and even the small changes that we make, we need to be proud of. We need to, some of us are perfectionists, many of us. So we have these plans, to get from, A to Z in a short amount of time. And when we haven't gotten to Z, we get upset. We may abandon the whole plan. But we need to rejoice in every small step that we have achieved. And some of those small steps, they may look small, but they're not so small for us. And they'll build up, they'll accumulate.
So we're going to take a short break, hear from our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to talk about tips to relieving anxiety and panic attacks. And we're also going to hear from our Teenage Confidential host, Katie Love. We'll be right back.
Are you feeling blue? Going for a walk outside will surely lift your spirits. Studies indicate that walkers scored significantly higher on vitality, enthusiasm, pleasure, and self-esteem, and lower on tension, depression, and fatigue after they walked outside. Feeling down once in a while is normal, but if you're feeling depressed on a regular basis, you may want to consult a mental health professional. New Horizons is the largest mental health and substance abuse agency in the area, with help just a phone call away 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call 772-468-5600 or visit newhorizonstreasurecoastinc.org.
The Tommy Bahama brand is legendary for its sophisticated interpretation of inspired island living. Right now at Sunshine Furniture, you save another 10% on all Tommy Bahama home and Lexington furniture during our Home for the Holidays event. Experience the casual comfort of the islands with designs made of exotic natural materials and rich finishes. We invite you to make life one long weekend with the cool and casual style of Tommy Bahama. At Sunshine Furniture, our showroom is filled with the largest selection of coastal indoor dining and bedroom sets, sofas, sleeper sofas, recliners, and slipcover groups by Four Seasons, Capri, Classic Rattan, Universal, and Hooker, all in stock for immediate delivery. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and don't forget our outlet and sales store directly across the street. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in the Publix Plaza next to Planet Fitness in Vero Beach. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and don't forget our outlet and sales store directly across the street.
Dr. Robert Reinauer of New Vision Eye Center is a fellowship-trained retina surgeon. He provides the very best care for patients needing treatment for dry and wet macular degeneration and diabetic eye care, as well as surgical care of the retina, including retinal detachments and the removal of floaters, providing world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. Call 772-257-8700 or visit newvisioneyecenter.com.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. If you're just now joining us, this is part 2 of our second segment with Jade Mazarin, a Christian therapist who is joining us from her office remotely. And I also have Katie Love, my Teenage Confidential co-host, in the studio with me. We've been talking about relationships and now relationship with self and self-care. So anxiety. So you know that you're perhaps not in a great relationship. And one of the ways of knowing that is this not good feeling within yourself, right? And So that's anxiety, and all kinds of things can trigger anxiety, not just relationships. In fact, I was just talking to someone today about good stress. Stress, life is kind of stressful, and some of it is very motivating. Some of it, gets that adrenaline going and you up and charged up, and, you go out and attack life and overcome and conquer. But then there's the debilitating stress. So how do you know the difference, and what are some of the tips that you have to relieve stress in your life?
Mm-hmm. There are different types of stress. And I think that once again, you have to be willing to listen to yourself. You have to be willing to listen to your gut and check in with yourself now and then, which we don't usually do because we're always focused on the next thing we have to do. But pausing and saying, how am I feeling? How am I doing? Have I been more exhausted lately? Have I had any kind of like heart palpitations here and there, or a faster heartbeat lately? And not feeling guilty for taking time to rest, because a lot of people feel guilty for that. And yet resting is actually an incredibly productive thing. And it enables us to, it's really like charging your phone. Maybe people have heard that analogy, but you're accomplishing something when you rest. And you're also showing yourself that you matter and that you're valuable. So as far as tips for anxiety, of course, if you're in a situation that's making you anxious, ideally you want to get out of that situation, but it may feel overwhelming to even think about that. So once again, you want to kind of take things into little pieces if need be, and see what the next step is that can guide you to your eventual goal. And you may need to stay at step 1 or step 2 for a while. And sometimes you may need to go, you may go back and you may need to tell yourself, okay, let me take another step forward. And also getting a good support system, whether it's friends or certain family members or a church group. Of course, consistently having some kind of relationship with God and praying to God and asking for that help. These are all things that we all need. There's a lot of physical things that we can do to help with anxiety as well, like deep breathing. There's this great sequence that I teach where you take in a deep breath, you hold it for about 4 seconds, whatever's comfortable. Then you actually pierce your lips together, kind of like you're blowing out of a straw. And then you do a long exhale, which would be kind of as long as you can make it, maybe 7 seconds. And that will actually put your body into a parasympathetic mode. So it calms down your body. And there are certain supplements like B complex, ashwagandha, licorice that are great for the adrenal glands, which help you in times of stress. But we need to ask ourselves, okay, am I doing too much? And what can I possibly back down on if I need to? Because if we don't listen to our body, it's going to get to a point where there's so much that we have to do because our body's falling apart. And our body will send us those messages. So hopefully we'll listen sooner rather than later.
I knew there was a reason why I liked licorice. So, Katie, speaking of stress, so you are in high school and a senior, putting your college applications in. Is that stressful?
Yes. From a young age, I was told that, college is where I needed to go right after high school. So, it was always a high anxiety for me of I have to go to college. So I've been working since sophomore year of making sure everything was pristine, everything was good. I've started I'm a dual enrollment student, so I'm trying to graduate with my AA. And, it adds on a lot of stress in life, which I think makes me a little more prone to anxiety, especially in moments where I see failure. If I fail a test, if I, get a bad grade in something, it feels detrimental and it makes me panic because if I'm not getting into college, where else am I going to go? And it just builds on top of each other, which can get really overwhelming. And, luckily I talked to a therapist and I learned some of the own tips like journaling to help, calm me down and remind, I've been working so hard and I'll most likely be able to do it because of how hard I've been working.
So Jade, what do you have to say to teenagers who are going through some of that?
Some of it is just par for the course, right? Because it is such a big change in life, and college is this big thing. I like how, I like being able to focus on the positive things of everything that is going right, everything that person is doing that helps them have a better chance of getting into college, focusing on those things. Sometimes we have certain personalities that make us more of a perfectionist, and we may need to be aware of where that may be coming into play, because sometimes we make a mountain out of a molehill. So when we have those anxious feelings, we need to kind of think of, okay, what thoughts are behind these feelings? And are any of those thoughts me being extra hard on myself, and me kind of saying, oh, because I got this not good grade, that like I'm never going to be able to go to college, and just being able to evaluate the reality of that thought. And you may need the input of other people. But sometimes just by calming down those thoughts that really are not even accurate, we're able to find more peace. And, for me and a lot of people that I speak with, just being able to pray and know that God does have a plan, that he can help in ways that we are not able to help, that there is a plan for us that is protected, and there's a purpose for us. And so even if we fall down, we're going to get back up again, and we're not alone in this, and we're going to get the help that we need.
Are there groups for young people? Because, I think that in hearing what Katie was saying, it's not just the kid that's doing that, perfectionism standards. It's also parents, I had them too, and even they don't even have to say something. They just raise an eyebrow, and exactly what the expectation or the disappointment is, and we internalize that. So, and that separating that from ourselves can be very difficult, especially at a young age, so are there groups for kids to maybe, bounce those ideas off of, to know that it's not like an all or nothing proposition, that, just because you don't get into that school, like you're done. Like there are different ways. And, just like what Jade said about having faith in the process, that maybe this isn't where you're supposed to be right now. Like having faith in this process, that, that's why people sometimes go to a junior college before they go to a 4-year university, so that they can kind of be acclimated to that level of pressure, trusting the process.
Yeah, I really love that. I mean, there are so many times in life when we feel like there's a door shut in our face, or something didn't work out, and our immediate reaction is just despair and frustration. And then all of a sudden, a little bit later, we see that there's another opportunity, and it kind of goes along pretty well. And when we look back, we see how the route that we took was actually the best for us, even though it didn't look that way in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So we do have to trust that. Yeah, trust in that for sure.
So I would love to have more segments with you. We are wrapping up for today. Again, Jade, how do people get a hold of you? You are just a wonderful, wonderful presence, and I love the energy that you bring to the therapeutic experience. I'd love to talk to you more.
I'd love to talk to you more too, Lisa. So my website is a good place to get more information, and that is jademazarin.net. And you can also contact me. My phone number and email is there, but you can also contact me at 772-321-9912. And
Jade, you do things remotely very often, therapy, so that it makes it very convenient for your clients of any age. And people are, becoming more and more acclimated to the Zoom experience and FaceTime and Skype and all of that. It's just really, I think, terrific. Therapy has never been as accessible as it is in this day and age. So thank you so much for what you do and what you're helping to do to heal our community. If you're interested in learning more about New Horizons, you can check us out at www.nhtcinc.org. I'm Lisa Reimer. Thank you so much for joining us. Katie, I'll see you next time.
Thank you.